Hello everyone to this very special edition of Espacio Inspira. In this occasion, it's a live event with a lot of people in the audience, and we have a very special guest today, one of the most well-known scientists in the world, Goodall. Welcome. It's great to see you here. For us, we are very lucky having you here this morning. Thank you so much for making an effort to be with us today.
Yeah, and it's great for me to be in such an amazingly sustainable building. It's just a great feeling.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a very sustainable building, as you say. Well, if you agree, we can start with the first question. After 65 years dedicated to learning about and protecting the nature, how did everything begin? When did everything start?
I was very lucky to have a supportive mother because she didn't even get mad at me when I was 1.5 years old, she told me, and I'd taken a whole lot of worms to bed. She said maybe I was wondering, how do they move without legs? So all the way through my childhood, she supported this love of animals. No television when I was growing up, no social media, nothing like that. So I learned being outside, watching the birds and the squirrels, and then from books. And I was 10 years old when I read about Tarzan of the jungle and fell passionately in love with this glorious lord of the jungle. And he went and married the wrong Jane. But that was when my dream began. I will grow up, go to Africa, live with wild animals, and write books about them. Everybody laughed. How will you do that? No money, true. Africa's far away. We don't know much about it, true. And you're just a girl. Remember, we're going back 80 years now. But my mother said, if you really want to do something like this, and you work really hard and take advantage of every opportunity, I'm sure you'll find a way.
Okay, we are aware that there are two countries that you started visiting, or probably the first trip was to Kenya, but probably what changed your mind was Tanzania. So, what do you remember from those trips?
Well, when I left school, I did really well at school, but there was no money for university, so I had to take a job. And then came the opportunity, a letter from a school friend inviting me to Kenya uh, for a holiday where her parents had just bought a farm. So I had to work really hard and save and save and save, and finally got to Kenya. My first experience was landing in Cape Town at the height of apartheid in South America, South Africa. And it was so horrible for me because I wasn't brought up to judge people by the color of their skin. And I couldn't wait to leave. And it was better in Kenya. Kenya was just moving towards, you know, leaving the British colonial rule behind and becoming independent. So I had an amazing time staying with my friend, but then I heard about Dr. Louis Leakey, famous paleontologist, and he gave me a job as his secretary. Then he took me on a safari where he was searching for fossils of ancient, early humans on the Serengeti and Olduvai Gorge. And while I was there, it was just him and his wife and me and one other young girl. And on one evening, when Gillian and I were allowed to go out and walk, we met a rhino. And another evening, it was a young male lion. He was about as far away as I don't know, 3 times the length of this platform, I would say. And just he was standing there, fully grown, mane beginning to sprout, tail gently waving. I think he was just curious. Anyhow, Leakey said that I'd reacted exactly right both times, and that's when he began offering me the opportunity to be the very first person to go and try and study our closest relatives, chimpanzees, in the wild.
Since 1960, your research has produced more than 350 scientific articles, 50 doctoral theses, 30 books, and 12 films. Easy to say, but very difficult to get. I guess that during all these process were full of challenges, difficulties, obstacles. How did you deal with them? What do you recommend us for those moments to get so many dreams?
Okay, well, I hope it's obvious that I wasn't responsible for all that number of publications. That was because I built up a little research station. And the research is still going on. We're in our 65th year of studying those same chimpanzees. But anyway, what were the problems? When I first went, there was only money for 6 months. I hadn't even been to college. But finally, an American philanthropist said, okay, here's money for 6 months. We'll see how she does. And for 4 of those 6 months, the chimpanzees ran away from me. And it was shocking. I mean, I knew given time I could get their trust. And unfortunately, one of them began to lose his fear. And I saw him picking grasses, using them to fish for termites, ants from their underground nest. And at that time, it was thought humans, and only humans, used and made tools. So this shattered the scientific community, and National Geographic came in and gave money so I could carry on. So first problem was getting the trust of the chimps. Eventually, they became like my family. Second problem, getting money. That is still a problem today.
Well, if we look at the audience, we can see how they pay attention. I can see that all of them have their ears very, very, very open. They are looking at you, and the silence, even before the interview, I could smell the environment, how everybody looks at you, trying to understand very well every single word from you. So it's very clear to me that you inspire many, many, many people. But the question is, who inspires Jane Goodall?
Well, I'm lucky. We have 25 Jane Goodall Institutes around the world. Each one is staffed and has volunteers who are totally amazing. We have our youth program, Roots and Shoots, in 75 countries for young people of all ages who are changing the world. They're choosing projects to help people, animals, environment, rolling up their sleeves and taking action. So everywhere I go on these non-stop tours, I'm meeting people who inspire me because of the dedication to what our mission is, which is making the world a better place, which is caring about the environment, which is being worried about the children being born into this world that we are destroying. Day by day, we're still raping the natural world, in some places faster than Mother Nature can restore. And we have to stop, and that's why these young people and the staff of the institutes inspire me with their dedication. Not giving up, saying, okay, the more people like some of our politicians and some of our big corporations are harming the planet, the harder we have to fight. Not give up.
If we look at your career, we can say that you have a lot of experience, a lot of experience. What messages would you give to new generations based on your experience?
Well, the best message of all is partly what my mother said to me. If you want to do something, don't give up. Take advantage of opportunity. Don't let people tell you that you can't do it. That's one. But really, probably the most important, not only for the next generation, but for every single person on the planet, you have a role to play. Every single day you make some difference. Choose wisely the difference that you make. For example, going shopping, what do you buy? Ask yourself, when it was made, did it harm the environment? Was it cruel to animals like the factory farms? Is it cheap because of unfair slave wages? Then look for something that's more ethical. And it might be a little bit more expensive, but if it is, we will value it more and waste less. And human waste is a huge problem.
Well, you're very aware that in our case, Sanitas and Bupa, we make efforts, in this case through Healthy Cities in collaboration with your institute. But I'm sure that you have in mind that companies or businesses can do much more for to be involved, to be engaged with this situation that we are living.
Well, I think number one is the CEO or his staff actually care, and they can discuss, what can we do better? How can we make our footprint on the planet lighter? And I can't resist one little story here. I was giving a talk to a whole lot of CEOs of big corporations, and this was in Singapore. And afterwards, one of them came up to me and he said, "Jane, I promise for the last 8 years, I have been working to find ways where we can be less environmentally unfriendly. In other words, more, harming the environment less." And he said there were 3 reasons. First of all, I saw the writing on the wall. I saw we're running out of natural resources in some places faster than nature can replenish them. Secondly, consumer pressure. People are beginning to ask questions about what they buy. But he said what tipped the balance for me was my little girl. She came back from school one day and she said, "Daddy, they tell me what you're doing is hurting the planet. That's not true, is it, Daddy? Because it's my planet." That reached the heart. And when I'm talking to people who have different views to me, I know it's no good arguing up here with the brain. They're not going to listen. Tell a story and reach the heart.
If you only had 1 minute to say, to explain to us main messages that you would like us not to forget, what would you say?
What I said before. Please don't forget that you matter, that every day you live, you make a difference. Choose wisely. Help the planet.
And one final question, because we don't have much more time. 2050. What do you like that at that point could have changed in the world?
2050 is nearer than you think. And what I would like is that the terrible wars that are harming this planet will have stopped, that we will have learned to live in greater harmony, not only with each other, but with the natural world. And that the swing to the far right, which is so destructive, will have changed. And whether that can happen by 2050 seems unlikely, but we have to work to try and make it happen.
We have to work to make it happen. I think it's a great final message. It has been a pleasure to have the opportunity for us to be with you this morning, and we expect to collaborate as we are doing today in the future with your institute. And for all of you, thank you for being in this new, very special edition of Espacio Inspira, and we see you in the next edition. Thank you.